Hey guys, welcome back to the Tough Love Podcast with Dr. John O'Connor. Today's podcast is sponsored by MedRay Laser and Technology. Matt, what's going on, brother?
Doc, not much. I'm diving deep with you right now.
Let's get it.
Let's talk about growth. How do you separate growing too fast to growing too slow?
Growing too fast. Growing too fast, I've been on both sides of that, right? We went from one clinic to 3 clinics, and that was ultimately, if you were looking back and it was a war, we lost it in Freehold Township, right? That property, we took that with ego. We took that in relationships that were not great. I think, again, ego got into play. And although we had great intentions and wanted to put something out there, it ultimately cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars, And then too slow was when we first started practicing in Red Bank. We had patients coming out of the seam. We had patients laying on the floor. I mean, it was unbelievable how packed and how successful we were. And I saw diminishing returns because instead of, taking some of the money out, as so many great business coaches, financial coaches tell, reinvest back into it, we stayed there until we bought the building. And then that was the greatest growth we had ever seen. Well, the story is that was probably 3 years too late.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Because there were patients that didn't like that, from a perspective of business.
Yeah.
Yes, they loved us, but they didn't want to feel like sardines.
Right.
Right. And I can relate to that. I understand that. Right. It made sense. And so I think the big learning thing is it's about really having a system to track stuff and make sure your team that you're growing with is growing with you. They're not just there. They're not just showing up, and I don't care what business that is. I've been around a couple of new companies in the new coaching business, and I love that one Instagram, that old Italian guy. It's like, you don't need 50 guys. You need 3 motherfuckers and you can take over the world, right? And these guys are 3 solid, actually 2 guys and a girl, and they're sharp, right? And they're covering the nation by breaking it down and being systematic. So I think, if I was giving advice on growth, is make sure you have all your ducks in order. Make sure that everybody that has a role and responsibility knows it and reports in. And, this past weekend was all about David Goggins talking about that accountability mirror.
Right.
You have to have the accountability meetings, and you got to put people on blast
in
a good way to say, Matt, report in, Christian, report in, Bobby, report in, Dana, report in, Jessica, report in, Chris, report in, Whack, report in, and Keyshawn, report in. But give them the floor and give them identifiable goals and where to hit. And that was something that, being away this weekend, I ran into a couple practice management guys in different verticals of practice management. And one of the big messages that they would all say was, don't overpay anybody, even yourself. Reward should be the mindset. Reward them for earned growth. Reward them for earned, measurables that they hit their mark and they went to the next mark and they hit their mark and they kept going, as opposed to overpaying somebody, because then you have owner dissatisfaction and then you have employee what's the word I'm looking for? Procrastination, or something along those lines, where they're
I'll get it done.
and they just don't touch it.
Yeah.
Right. And we see that all the time, even in Velocity,
every day,
where we give people, tasks and I tell people all the time, my job is not to babysit you. I give you a list of things to do, get them done.
Yep.
But again, I think the better leader communication in that is, we're going to circle back Friday, send me a report, let me know what works, what doesn't work, and where I can support you to make sure that we're getting a better return.
Right.
And however I can help.
Friday ends the week and also starts the next week.
That's it. So I think that's hopefully I answered your question.
Right, 100%. And when it comes to that, whether you're going too fast, too slow with growth, when does it become time that you realize, hey, we need to slow this down? Or look at Freehold, for instance, been going for 2 years. When did you guys decide it's time to let go, downsize, and continue growth with our other two locations?
I think the big thing was the transition with physical therapy. And with healthcare and compensation and reimbursements. And there are so many practice organizations that do a better job on collecting money and making money. And I salute them. I have nothing against them. I'm a person to say, hey, I'm proud to be in a Power Five with the other big practices in the county. But that wouldn't be my strength. My strength would be of those practitioners, and they know who they are. They'd be like, yeah, John O'Connor's still in the trenches and he's badass. Right?
Yeah.
But with Freehold, I always punished myself in training in sports. I'd always outwork everybody. That was kind of my measuring stick. I don't think you can pound healthcare providers like that, and they're not going to have the same conviction, and their why is going to be there to want to see that many patients. And at that point, are you really giving good healthcare? And is it about healthcare, or is it about putting money in the draw?
Right. Two separate identities.
And, I've never, yes, everybody wants to be compensated and wants to be paid well. But for me, I have to tell you, I love getting a great testimonial or a random text of a thank you. Your healthcare, knowledge and ability and thoughtfulness
and team
has been, and your team, everything around it. When I say you, meaning the entire Velocity family, has been life-changing, transformational. These words that hit different, that say no money can replace that feeling of appreciation and the self-respect you get and the pride you get from knowing you're delivering something that somebody found a value with, that they were in a dark place and you helped them through it.
Right. You grew with them.
Yeah. And you helped them get there, So I think that's a big part of it.
No, 100%. You nailed it there. It's all about growing together, whether it's with the team, with the patients, patient first mentality. Getting more into that growing wise as business mindset when it comes to biting off too much, meaning going back to as athletes when we're working out, training, in the gym, out of the gym. I was baseball. I wasn't focusing on singles, doubles, home runs, bunts, stealing bases. I was focused on doing my job as a first baseman. And I feel like that's a super important lesson that you can get into about how to trim down what you need to focus on to become the best at your specialty.
That's a great question. And I think there's a couple different directions you can go in it. I think that regardless of what the job is or the sport, you have to know your role. And when you get so busy, okay, and we talk about this every day, is you have to have an organizational rhythm. Like they say, you get in a zone. But when you get in a zone, a lot of times that's because you've had a ton of hard work, molded into good timing, great teammates, and everything pieces out. But when life gets in and you start getting busy, where the great ones separate is because they stay in the zone. They are working off the lists. They set the appropriate time. They get up earlier if need be. They stay up later. And, I love, I listen to The Rock pretty much like my Sunday morning Bible, is they realize any day that ends in a Y is a work day. There are no days off.
Right.
Varying levels, but they're bringing it every single day. So that would probably be it. So I think that if you do that and you stay, ultra focused, I think that the results are going to come, and again, we're always talking about this in any of our practice or any business. it's like being on the golf course, right? And you're always quick to spit out your stats, or, Johnny being at IMG, like we're playing baseball.
Yeah.
They have metrics on everything.
Right.
They got hit tracks, they got this, they got that. Everything is measuring power, pop, distribution, frequency. I think that when we talk about business, in general, like it was business of healthcare, we have to have measurables, successful outcomes, compensation, the effectiveness of the back end, the insurance departments, this and that, all that into play. And I think that if you get that all super organized, I don't think you run into burnout because you're constantly transparent and face forward going at the problems versus, stuff's falling apart and now you're chasing problems. You don't know where to look.
Right.
Okay.
No, absolutely nailed it there. And I want to stay on that topic with keeping your list, keeping organized. Today, we planned out our whole week in about 45 minutes. We got 7-8 meetings scheduled the rest of the week, which to me, learning from you, those are going to be small wins. What's our big win? When we check everything off by the end of the week.
100%. I'm doing better. I love watching successful businessmen, whether they're younger than me or older than me, and seeing what drives them, and one of the huge components is organizational skills. Today, at one point, and it was, we had about a break of an hour with patient care between Christian, you and myself. We multitasked to literally get about 45 things done. And, on top of contacting 100 people on text separately, other than 3. So 97 individual text messages, while doing all that. And it didn't feel like work. It felt great. It put you in that productive zone, like being in a, zone, like you shoot. For me, I'm a basketball player.
Yeah.
For you, roping balls all over the place and
Yeah.
find the ground, right? And I think that is a huge component of it that I think is, if it gets missed, it's devastating. And when you can exploit it and really be great in that, then I think success is imminent.
Right. All about staying the course, staying in one lane, head down, move forward. Doc, advice you can give your listeners right now in regards to how to stay focused, stay in their own lane with distractions going on inside, outside the workplace. How do you go about keeping your head down, moving forward, stay to the list, get it done?
You know what? Let's get real here, right? My last 6 months or so have been a roller coaster. And for me, I have to stay in my lane, right? I get up, I journal, I set a morning agenda from 4, whatever it is, a.m. to 6 a.m. I organize that. And a lot of the people that I follow, even though I'm a social media influencer, this and that, are in the same space, dealing with emotional hardships, or whether they are the recipient of being hurt or hurt someone, they're dealing with it, whether it's life, personal, emotional. And you have to keep that front stable, or at least put it in somewhere that you can keep it under control. Because if you lose control of that, you've lost everything. You won't focus in the fitness. You won't focus in your finances. You won't focus in family. You won't focus in fun or anything. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I would say that as I'm dealing with it live and real right now, I can see when I lose control of that, I lose control of my team. I lose control of being a goal, set a goal, crush a goal, set a goal, smash a goal person.
Yeah.
Because I'm lost. And if you go back to, somebody like an Eckhart Tolle, I'm not present. I'm thinking about the future that hasn't happened, or I'm reconstructing the past.
Right.
And to truly be a beast, you need to be present. And you need to set those goals in the now. And you can have a vision of what you want out of them in the future. But when you do that, that is when, for me, the true brilliance, like I watch it and I like to call it the flow. I like to call it the zone. I always loved when guys like Tim Grover. We're talking about how Michael Jordan really, the great athletes would get and keep themselves in a zone. And I think that when you're an athlete and you transition out of the athletics, stuff, although physically you may change, your mind doesn't
Mentally,
change.
you're still there.
Mentally, you're still that same person. So, whether it's that mindset of putting a great circle right now with my team that I have around me, I'm blessed, whether it's my work team, my social media team, iron sharpens iron. If we can't, have constructive feedback conversations, then it's not real. Right. You got to be able to talk like you're in a group of brothers and sisters, and that community is willing to say things that may not feel great, but it's for the common benefit of the group that it has to be, exercised out, if you will, spoken out and felt to say, hey, listen, didn't like that.
Right.
Let me reframe that. How can we do this better so we get a better outcome? How can I communicate better with you? You know me, like if I get in you, right, I usually give you a hug within 10 minutes.
100%.
Like, oh yeah, Doc will get in me, but like 10 minutes later,
that's what we do.
You know what I mean? Like, and because the level of respect that I have for you, almost brings me to that inner man tier where I'm like, that's my guy.
Yeah.
Do better.
Without
and I'm literally having that inner conversation with myself that he deserves better, be better.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, don't be better, be best. And so I think for me, if I was telling people, and it's amazing, where people start sharing with you stuff, and as a healthcare provider, as a person, as a a podcast host, and what they're going through. And again, I don't know what side of the hurt you're on.
Yeah.
But the reality is that when you can stay focused and try to just be genuinely a good person, it is amazing how that is probably the best medicine, for that type of situation.
Right. Without a doubt. And sports mentality, I'm going to use a baseballism here. Defense wins championships. So when you're staying in the lane, how do you play defense, block out the outside noise when you're growing and getting to your ultimate goal?
It's funny. I'm going to go back to David Goggins on the weekend. He said something great. You're going to have haters. You're going to have distractors. And most of those people in those situations haven't done shit, right? They're sitting there firing away, or they're talking and they haven't been through it.
We got to tag Goggins in this one.
What's that?
We got to tag Goggins in this
100%.
one.
And, and if you haven't embraced the suck and got to the other side of that,
you're not going to make
anything out of you. I know for me and my team and my unit, we're brick and mortar. We've done it brick by brick. And you know what? Unfortunately, sometimes we've had parts of the buildings collapse. But
we say we flat out suck today.
Yeah. And what we do every single time? We put the wheelbarrow, we put the cement in the wheelbarrow, we grab our shovels, we grab our gloves.
There we go.
And we get back to work.
Yep.
And so for me, that is something that I would tell everybody, like, hey, don't give up. Don't give up the grind. Don't give up that hustle. That part is what makes you, an absolute beast in what you do.
Right.
And people, I think it's amazing because for me, I'm very busy and I'm not one for celebrating myself. Right. But it's always intriguing when people are like, you're into so many things and you do really well at a lot of them. Like, and I'm not a big confidence person a lot of times. And meanwhile, I'm in my head doubting, saying, God, I thought I sucked at all of them. Thank you.
Well, that's what it is. People don't see what happens behind the curtain. They don't see the work. They don't see the time that's put in. That's my take on that, is people just think it's all about fame, fortune, success. It's not. It's all about hard work, sweat, blood, tears. Got to put it in.
I'm going to bounce it around and put a question at you. What do you see that I do that inspires you? You know what I mean? Because I think that's one thing that we say with athletes all the time, that I remember Barry Bonds was killing it and Sports Illustrated was celebrating him, and they were talking about whoever was flying out to California to train with him, and whether they were flying right back home or they were like, I think I want to say it was Gary Sheffield or somebody, and it was literally 75 hard or CrossFit or Navy SEALs before
Yeah.
all that was publicized. Like, if you wanted to train with Barry Bonds, you knew you had to get after it because he was absolutely a beast.
100%. That's a great question, Doc. My biggest thing is your drive. I mean, I try to beat your ass up every morning when I wake up to beat you to your first text. But it's just a drive every day. At the end of the day, life's a grind. What we do for work is a grind. I mean, I love working on our patients. It's great. But you have the grit. We have slow days. You're nose deep in your phone texting patients to come in. The motive you have to be successful, not only as, an entrepreneur with Velocity, but at home, in the gym, on the court still, you doing your thing, shooting throughout the day. I see out there. That's what keeps me driven with my personal goals too, even outside of Velocity, in the gym, in my personal life, with my lovely wife at home, and grinding on the golf course. I'm no PGA Tour player, but you know what? I want to be the best golfer I can be. I'm paying to play. I want to put the time and work in. I really look up to you as a mentor and always have for that reason. Just your grit, your drive in life and business in general.
Appreciate that. I have to say, those situations are things that come back from, obviously your first father, your dad, and then for me, I was blessed to have some really great coaches along the way.
Yeah.
And then probably, and I'd say it's for all my kids that are listening to this podcast, probably my best teachers were my students, my athletes that I trained, and hearing their hardships, their emotional hardships that's translated into the strengths that made them accomplish national, international, or just goals that they'll take with them for the rest of their life.
Right.
And, all those pearls created for me, a mental library of the whys.
Yeah.
And, resonating with, seeing like whether it was my daughter who academically was struggling for a while and then got on track, and watching her confidence and her demeanor and her body language when it comes to what she wants to do, being either a physician's assistant or a nurse practitioner or possibly a medical doctor, I couldn't be more proud, because that beautiful little girl as a freshman, sophomore was like, I can't do anything, and now to see her, honor roll, straight A's, and all these different, academic opportunities coming in, I'm blessed that whatever she's heard and been inspired and seen around her said, don't quit, keep going.
Yep.
And I want to be my personal best.
Right.
And the same thing with my son. I tell him every single day that celebrate small wins, right?
Have to.
You're playing baseball. You're not playing a sport that, you get to kick it 3 times to the uprights and it's just in there. You're going to fail more times than you succeed.
Get 3 hits out of 10 at bats, you're in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And you're a superstar, so I think that those kind of things are such valuable lessons. And, right now, even with Doc Jess and myself, we're grinding, we're working harder than we have ever worked. I have launched a coaching business. She's running 3 locations and the
wellness aesthetic side.
Yeah, that's it. And managing me and being a great mom and a great person. And, and we're blessed to have her. So much of this wouldn't get done without that person.
She keeps me in check too.
Yes, without a doubt. She's a force to be reckoned with for sure. But, I think that when you look at that family component or you look at anything like that, I think it's so important to recognize those things, and you got to celebrate them, you know? So
no, absolutely. And it's all about the dynamic. I look at our team at Velocity as family, and that's where it starts.
Agreed. Well, listen, the one thing that I would tell you that when we talk about growth and we talk about it so often, and obviously being a practice management coach, you can't talk about growth if you don't talk about pain first.
Right.
And, the more events I attend and the more people I speak with, I have to show my vulnerability, which is obviously something that no one likes to do, or most people, I would say, and to get them to open up and then expose to them how I got to the other side. But again, I think the big thing in the discovery process is saying, what are you doing now that you don't like? And let's talk about that on how we can fix it.
Yeah.
And then saying, are you committed to staying the course? Are you committed to the process? And if you are, Well, then I think that we're going to have a fantastic relationship.
Yeah.
If you're not,
You got to
you're
figure
probably
it
not
out.
going to like that. You're not going to like me or the end results
Right.
that much.
Yeah.
You know,
100%. No, you nailed it.
so I think whenever we're talking about winning, growing, it all comes down to another thing is momentum, right? And today, Sean was up super early, and I think the three of us, when we're communicating, it's really funny, for the audience doesn't know, it's my social media.
We have our best conversations before 6 a.m.
between 4 and 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And, yesterday, 2:15 home, right? Asleep by 2:33, up by 4:30, and I was laughing my butt off because all in my head was saying, thank God Matt brought the PEMF unit, right? So 4:00 in the morning, I'm on there. I hit you guys up. I'm like, yo, I need a few more minutes.
Yeah.
I am tired.
You're like, we got you.
But yeah, being on the PEMF and just recharging my body and doing all the different things that I do, went in, was following some Gary Brecka stuff, worked on my breath work, ice cold shower, got in, did some mobility stuff. And I was like, hey, tired like pain, you got to put that in its place, right?
Yep.
I was tired, but again, my job's to be great when I get there.
Yep.
So, I didn't immediately have food prep this morning, thanks to Jess, that got in, but the reality is that, we were completely out of sorts, and I could have sat there and said, hey, today's going to be a bad day.
Hell no.
And, we turned it around and had an amazing day. And
Christian and I saw 12 patients in about 45 minutes, and it was the smoothest 45 minutes I think we've ever had.
So, which is amazing, when you guys can sit there and support and help with that kind of care. I think it's just an amazing thing and a testimonial to the systems that we run and master and work on
Right.
on a weekly, daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I think, like I said, whenever we're talking about growth, I think that the vision boards and organization and all of that is so critical. And, we were talking about it, we were off camera before, like, where's the growth coming from? Celebrating that, nurturing it, and then also looking at what doesn't serve you. And if it doesn't serve you, freehold, right? For us, right? I love that space. And I've kind of already said my goodbye. I'm kind of ready, but it's not serving us at this point, right? And I pray that whoever takes that space has remarkable success and good luck. And I wish them all the luck in the world
Right.
with it. I think it's going to be good for somebody. Wasn't great for us, right?
And that's
going
okay.
to happen, right?
It's all good.
I've been out there in sports. I'm sure you say this is baseball, where my body's felt great. I thought that I was going to have an amazing day, on the court, and everything was going. Warm up line felt great, shooting the ball well. Had the worst game of my career,
The best games happen when you're not thinking about anything.
Yeah, right. You got to get in that zone,
Yep.
And I think with age comes wisdom. One of the things now is that by staying focused and not getting the distractions and the negative emotions that can really take you off course and not be present, I think that's one of the things that I do a better job at, to say, my patients deserve the best, my clients deserve the best, whoever I'm around deserves my best. How do I get there? How do I stay there? And how do I eliminate the distractions as best I can?
Right. And it's all a team effort. Lose as a team, losses are going to happen, but you grow. Most importantly, you win as a team. That's how it's done.
100%. And, and I'm thankful for you guys. I'll say, hey, having a bad day. And I never hear anything other than, we got you.
Yep.
Right. And I think that that's a culture, across all of our clinics and practices, and something that, we've had some amazing podcast guests, when we had Mo from, Athletic Freak, creating a community. And when customers come in, I think all of us in this room right now, we're blown away by it when he said, we don't even care if they buy anything. If they leave feeling better than when they came in the room or the store, and their outlook is positive and the experience is amazing, that the sales will come.
Yep.
The greatness will come.
Absolutely.
And to me, I was like, you know what? I think sometimes we all lose sight of that, sometimes the best healthcare I've given a patient was referring them out
Yeah.
because I couldn't help them. And I think in those situations that when we can be in that situation, I think that's an amazing, amazing opportunity to realize that sometimes, when you're your best, it's because you gave somebody an assist
Yep.
and you weren't the person that made the putt or hit the shot or threw the ball to the end zone. It was the person that caught it and ran
What
with
gives you that triple double?
it. And so I think that's a special part of growth is that sometimes your best growth comes from getting other people to grow with you, and then they're producing, then they're feeling amazing, and I think that that's something that we're working right now in our coaching. We're working inside, right?
We're learning and growing as we're doing this
Yeah,
podcast.
100%. We're working on that in our companies that we own, right? That we say, hey, let's break this apart. Let's reverse engineer this. This isn't working.
Yeah.
What can we do to make this better? What can we do to make this a better experience?
And that's the biggest thing. A lot of people don't show that. It's vital. You're open. You're honest. I don't think there's one thing we talk about that we're not open and honest about. Even if it's something we don't like to hear during the workday, I tell you straight up. You certainly tell me straight up.
Yeah.
We hug it out, and then we solve the problem.
100%. I will say it's funny. I think as I get older, I can see why when I run into my friends that are getting into their late 60s and 70s, when they just literally say it how it is, and I'm like,
Shoot.
okay then, no holding back, got it. And but I think that one of the biggest gifts we could give to people, and being honest is tough, and it's tough to hear, and it's tough to do. And I think like even right now, like, I'm working on that,
Yeah.
I'm working on emotional hurts where I've hurt people and we had to talk it out, and we got to say, hey, listen, this is what happened. And I'm sorry is not enough.
Sometimes it sucks, but that's the only way to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, thank you so much. Love direction today. I think the moral of the story about growth is you're going to have a lot of ups and downs. I think I think the focal points are being organized. That starts from the minute you open your eyelids or even going to bed the night before and programming what you want to see, visualization,
Yeah.
and touching all those components. And then when the distractions come, and they will come, the lows will come.
They're coming.
Right? But if you have those systems in place, it's like having, a windshield wiper for the rain, or bumper guards, or anything, a bicycle helmet. When you have those safeguards in place,
Be prepared.
you're prepared for them.
Yep.
And when you anticipate, now I think in that reaction mode, it's not you're reacting, you're unprepared. You anticipated. And when you anticipate, now you have an advantage.
Yep.
So I would say, everything about growth comes with preparing yourself, preparing your mind, preparing your team, being consistent, preparing your body, like the self-care, the meditation, the breath work, the cold showers, or, ice plunges, workouts,
Take the extra time during the day.
yeah, and make that time. I was so excited to get back into meal prep mode, being away at the seminar coaching all weekend.
I was actually a little upset. You had no chicken for me today to try.
Yeah, we'll be back to normal tomorrow. So, hey guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Today's show was all about growth and the highs and lows that come with it, staying focused during adversity, understanding what will distract you and what will keep you focused. If you enjoyed our podcast today, please share it on any of our platforms. We're so thankful. We can only grow with you guys and everything you do for us. So thank you and have a great night.